This is TWiT.
So I did want to sort of just kind of, we're going to be keeping an eye on what is happening with the U.S. versus big tech as regards encryption. There was some continuing back and forth last week. We started the discussion of it last week. We know that Bill Barr, our U.S. Attorney General, wrote the letter to Apple's counsel saying we need you to unlock these two phones. Bill Barr, in a press conference, said, quote, "We have asked Apple for their help in unlocking the shooter's iPhones. So far," this is Barr talking, "Apple has not given us any substantive assistance." And I suppose that the characterization as substantive is somewhat open to interpretation. This is why people hate attorneys and politicians. But based upon the level of Apple's arguably quite substantive cooperation, Barr must have meant that Apple didn't give them absolutely everything they asked for. Apple replied to Barr's characterization by saying, quote, "We reject the characterization that Apple has not provided substantive assistance in the Pensacola investigation. Our responses to their many requests since the attack have been timely, thorough, and are ongoing. Within hours of the FBI's first request on December 6th, we produced a wide variety of information associated with the investigation. From December 7th through the 14th, which was last Tuesday, we received 6 additional legal requests, and in response, provided information including iCloud backups, account information, and transactional data for multiple accounts. We responded to each request promptly, often within hours, sharing information with the FBI offices in Jacksonville, Pensacola, and New York. The queries resulted in, get this, many gigabytes of information, which we turned over to investigators. In every instance, we responded with all of the information we had." And Apple added that it had received the subpoena for the second iPhone on January 8th and responded to the FBI's request within hours of receiving it. So in Barr's somewhat unfortunate press conference, he said, "This situation perfectly illustrates why it is critical that investigators be able to get access to digital evidence once they have obtained a court order based on probable cause. We call on Apple and other technology companies to help us find a solution so that we can better protect the lives of Americans and prevent future attacks." So standing back from this a bit, this sounds more like Barr just continuing to bang the drum for change and not actually expecting anything else from Apple.
He knows they can't do anything.
Yes.
They've given him everything they can, which is more than enough.
Yes.
So this is political at this point. This is not about that investigation. And what really, as far as AG Barr goes, I seriously think that this is not about terrorism. This guy wants to suppress dissent. He wants to know everything that's going on. And he is the flag bearer for the absolute most intrusive kind of surveillance. It bothers the hell out of me.
We did learn a little bit more during this follow-up press conference. He said that, Barr said, during the gunfight with first responders, the shooter disengaged long enough to place one of the phones on the floor and shoot a single round into the device. It also appears the other phone was damaged, but our experts at the FBI crime lab, which I find amazing, were able to fix both damaged phones. Yes, you can shoot it, and we'll still be able to bring it back to life. Anyway, so that they are operational. Maybe the bullet just bounced off its corner or something. Anyway, he said, however, both phones are engineered to make it virtually impossible, and I would remove the word virtually, because we know how they've been engineered, to unlock them without the password. It is very important to know with whom and about what the shooter was communicating before he died. So I agree with you, Leo, completely. We've previously covered extensively here that Apple has deliberately designed and implemented within their devices a robust system for encrypting the data stored within iDevice's non-volatile storage. And the upshot of that design is that no one, not even they, Apple, have any means or ability to decrypt it. And as you said, I'm sure they explained this at great length in their replies. I'm sure that we didn't see the subpoena that was issued that Apple responded to, providing all the information they had, gigabytes of data.
Yeah, they gave him the iCloud. They probably gave him the Apple iMessages. They know who he was talking to because the phone company knows that, as well as Apple. By the way, there's also a point to be made. There's some evidence that even the most recent iPhone 11 can be cracked by Great Key. Celebrate and Great Key, we've talked about before, are firms that specialize in helping law enforcement break into these phones. And there's significant evidence that Great Key has an ability to break into the iPhone 11, the most recent. And we know, thanks to, what was that exploit that we've been talking about on older iPhones? We know that they can root the older iPhones. So and I think Barr knows this. This has nothing to do with this case.
Right.
There's a good post in the Lawfare blog saying they already got everything they could ever want about these phones.
Well, and look at how much they got. The other flip side is law enforcement is now buried in riches. I mean, they
wouldn't have had this before. They got everything. They didn't need a wiretap. They got it all.
Yes.
So this is to me this is a red herring. What they really want is total information awareness.
Well,
Chinese government-style surveillance on all the citizens.
We know that if Bill Barr wishes to outlaw the commercial sales of such technology in the U.S., he'll need Congress to pass legislation to essentially outlaw the commercial sale of technology that doesn't have a back door.
This is political, but I think they want to outlaw Congress too. So I think where they're heading is we'll just take care of this.
Those pesky congressmen.
Those members of Congress.
And so until then, he's just complaining that Apple cannot do something that was deliberately designed for it to be impossible for it to do. So, okay, yeah.
And fine. He knows that.
Yeah.
This is grandstanding. This is all about the court of public opinion. It has nothing to do with the actual case.
Yeah. And we saw somewhere that like some of the congressmen, I think it might have been Lindsey Graham, who while railing against Apple, he said, but I have to say I am happy that my iPhone is secure.
Yeah. For him.
Wait, Lindsey, hold on a second. You're saying you want a back door, but not in yours.
Right. Of course. That's exactly what he wants. You nailed it. You're surprised?
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting. This just really seems like a hot potato because yes, it would be nice if only terrorists' phones could be unlocked and everybody else's were safe. But what citizen is going to say, yeah, I want the government to be able to get into my phone whenever it wants to? Right. I just don't see us. I mean, we've been talking about cryptographers being in their ivory towers saying, no, there's no way to do this. I think when you ask anybody, would you like the government to be able to have access to your phone? Well, certainly some people will say, yeah, I have nothing in here. Others are going to say, that doesn't seem like a good idea.